it's hard to find a dissenting voice in someone that says that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer shouldn't be Manchester United manager. You talk to the hierarchy of the club, you talk to the players, the effect it's had on them, staff, and the various people that work at Manchester United. All of them, hands up, wanted Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to be Manchester United manager, and then you throw the Manchester United fan fraternity into it. As I say, I think they would have had a riot on their hands had they decided to give the job to anyone else. I think what's interesting about this, there have been high-level meetings all this week. It's not a surprise it's today. To be honest with you, that was always the day that was in mind for this announcement. I was told yesterday that there were doubts whether the deal had actually been done, but the timing of the announcement was something they were looking very, very carefully at. And there was some thought that they might want to do it before the Barcelona game and get a kind of groundswell of opinion going. But they've gone early on it, ahead of a game against Watford, which I guess isn't perhaps Manchester United thinking, but what it also does is maximises the time that he's had to sort of sort this out in his own mind over the international break. And I think that's the key thing. They've had 2 weeks to sort things out. He's been away. He's been with his family. Mike Phelan's been away over in Australia. They're now back. There were meetings on Monday and Tuesday. And I think what they've done is just, solidify something that's been quite remarkable. I don't think anyone at Manchester United thought that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would have the effect on this team that he's had, albeit, of course, a couple of back-to-back defeats have maybe taken some of the sheen off what he's done, but I think he'd also point to the fact that the personnel he's used are pretty much similar. They played an awful lot of games together, and I think he'd also point to the fact that they're not his players, many of them. Certainly if he was given the choice, I think he'd make different arrangements. But what changes now, and there's a press conference this afternoon at 4 o'clock at Old Trafford, so if you like, unveil the man that's already been unveiled. He goes from being interim to the man in the hot seat. And I think what changes, in effect, is the questions we're now able to ask Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And I think some of the touchy-feely stuff and the fact that we know him very well as a player and now as a manager maybe subsides a little bit, and then we can look at recruitment, we can look at comings and goings, we can look at what he likes about Manchester United, what he doesn't like about Manchester United, and the targets he's going to set. But I think there's a great deal of excitement about it within the club. He's, as I say, changed people's opinions of him. He's been a remarkable appointment as far as Ed Woodward and the board have been concerned, and I think they were left with no decision to make. And I think what's interesting as well is that yesterday they announced their plans for the summer tour, and I think the game against Tottenham Hotspur in the Far East in July will now take on a new significance. The guy that everyone thought would get the job and didn't, and the guy that no one else thought would get the job and has. It's going to be Pochettino up against Solskjaer, but before that, of course, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has the big challenge of keeping or getting Manchester United into the top 4. And then, who knows, in the Champions League, no one gave them a chance against PSG, and now he has Barcelona on the cards. No one will give them a chance against Barcelona again, but Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has proved that anything's possible when it comes to him and Manchester United, not only as a player, manager.
Look, there were others who suggested that United should leave this decision as long as possible so that they give themselves the full end of season to work out whether Solskjaer's the right man. Does the fact that this has come early, which will surprise quite a few people, I think, does that reflect the fact that pretty soon the powers that be at the club just had that sense that Solskjaer was the right man, not just in terms of the results, but in terms of the way the players have responded to him, his history with the club, and actually, he's the perfect man right now?
I think you're right. I think there are three factors that come into that. I think the first is probably, yes, as you said, the results. The fact they went on that long unbeaten run, the fact he dragged them back into the top 4 reckoning, the fact that he beat PSG. I think all those things were a major tick in the Ole Gunnar Solskjaer box. And I think then Ed Woodward and the board probably did their due diligence around the club, looking at the fact he's had on staff, but of course, namely, and Keelian players. I mean, every player we've spoken to since Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has got the interim job back in December has said they want him to be the permanent manager. I was only with Luke Shaw in Paris after that game, and he said, look, it's almost certain that he's going to become the manager. And Ashley Young, the club captain at the moment, in the absence of Antonio Valencia, similarly praiseworthy. You couldn't get a single player to say they didn't want Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. And then you also look at the performances. We spoke to Victor Lindelof this week. Now, he was a player that Manchester United fans didn't think fitted at Manchester United. Well, he's been up for Player of the Month for the last couple of months, and now looks like the sort of linchpin centre-half, alongside perhaps somebody arriving in the summer. And I then think you look at the fan effect, and that was immediate. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is a hero because of what he achieved at Manchester United, his goals, the drama of it, and of course Barcelona in 1999. But I think more than that, I think there's a feel-good effect. And I think you throw all those three factors in, Yes, it was probably superstition that meant this whole thing go as long as it's gone, because he didn't want to change the fact that he was interim manager to manager. But I think even Manchester United are aware, look, they're plotting for a new season. They've given out their itinerary for the pre-season. I think all those things considered, they decided with this 2-week break it was time to make this all official and just get on with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer and the next era of Manchester United. And, I guess you'll get very few people today who will say it's the wrong decision.